Goldie Hawn by Bringer is, without doubt, one of the greatest pieces of music ever made. It has all the makings of a modern classic. Like any Lifetime original film, Bringer is most assuredly at the top of their game.
Everybody here, Charlie and Jill, they've hitched their wagon to a shooting star. And there ain't nobody gonna be able to stop us. We're gonna take over the whole dang world. Won't you be my girlfriend?
Their new album will soon explode onto the world scene like a Tesla Model 3 strapped to the brush guard of a semi-truck. Improbable, yet still badass. But the questions remain to be asked. What sacrifices were made at the altar of genius to bring Goldie Hawn to life? Has Bringer already brung it? And what dark secret is Seth Park hiding from the world that caused him to ask Goldie Hawn, will you be my girlfriend? Will you be my mom?
Oh, you don't know the story? Well, I'll tell you what happened.
Every band's got its own weird problem.
I realized that at any moment, I could crush it.
Talk to you for a second.
They've got 900 numbers for that. See ya.
Bringer's last music video was Black and Gold, a song of passion, obsession, two colors. At the time, it was an outlier, a harmless fluke with an unforgettable hook, and all the attitude of a hungry rock trio climbing their way to the top of the mountain. That mountain being made of food. So when it was time to record new music, their spirits were naturally high. They had proven themselves capable, and now it was time to flex. To throw a little shade, I caught up with the band at a press junket for their new album to get a feel for how they were doing and to ask them what inspired the off-kilter lyrical imagery of Goldie Hawn.
So Black and Gold was pretty successful. You guys did really well with that song.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was one of those like last minute thrown together in the studio things that ended up just being a lot better than any of us expected, I think.
Sometimes we get a limousine at the airport, but not every time. Eminem's had some brown ones, you know.
Despite the runaway success of their last single, there was a palpable change in the band, and it seemed to have something to do with their frontman.
There was a demonstrable shift in Seth's personality. He kind of had most of his psychotic disorder under control, but like it's just ever since then it's just been crazy, man.
One day I was sitting in there, we were having dinner with his mom, and she was really pressuring him to act for some reason. She said he had, the face, the look for acting and the spirit for acting, and she was just going on, and I was kind of getting tired of the conversation, so I left the room, and then I heard a slam, and when I came back into the room, they were having this fight, like the tables flipped over and they were fighting each other. And I don't know if you've ever seen a grown man fighting his mom and losing. I guess after that moment, seeing his mom with him in a headlock and him screaming, "Uncle, Uncle," just tears running down his cheeks, I realized that at any moment, I could crush it.
An oil man by trade, Seth spends most of his time alone, dressed as if he's going to a party where the only hors d'oeuvres are whole milk and salted pork rinds drizzled with molasses. He's also admitted publicly that he's afraid of feeling any sorrow. Troubling. I pressed his bandmates to learn what I could of his past.
He's a little strange.
Seth's always been weird, but it's just kind of been a slow burn.
You were actually slated to direct Goldie Hawn.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that I did direct it. Seth just made me credit him as director, but again, I feel it's like herding cats, but there's just one of them. I do moonlight as a director. You may have heard of a little movie called Moonlight. No?
Really, say the worst part of it all, though, or probably the nightmares. Pretty much every night he'll get really sweaty and then just wake up screaming.
What's he say?
Checks in the mail! I thought that guitar was a prop! Escape from LA has its merits!
These clues were frightening. I had to speak with the source, no matter how difficult that proved to be. I asked Seth if I could have an interview, and he agreed to an interview. I would tell you it was an arduous process to get him to speak of the incident. It wasn't. He had set this up. Also, I was the only journalist at this press junket. And it wasn't a junket. I had just come over to watch The Bachelor. We were in his living room.
My mother told me that she'd gone on a couple dates with the movie star back in 1980. And she was working a summer job in Juneau, Alaska at one of those diamond shops. My mother was a diamond saleswoman back then. And guess who come in that store one day? Because you can look it up. The Thing was filmed on a glacier just outside of Juneau, Alaska. And yeah, Kurt Russell, star of The Thing, he come into that very jewelry store and asked my mother on a date. And now, it's been called into question who my father might be. Look at the dude, look at what's going on here, and tell me that Kurt Russell ain't my dad.
Goldie Hawn is a masterpiece of American songwriting, but it's also a sordid tale of Tulsa wood intrigue, a harrowing story of manipulative, enabling bandmates, one man's hideous, though monetarily useful psychosis, and a most certainly untrue tale of mistaken fatherhood. But is it untrue? Only a paternity test could tell. All we can do in the meantime is enjoy the flavor that such mysteries lend to the rich broth of this special song, whilst simultaneously judging these three genius artists for their scandalous behavior so that we can feel better about ourselves for not having written the most brilliant song the world has ever known. Goldie Hawn.
Checks in the mail!
Yeah.
Checks in the mail! Checks in the mail! Is that okay? So the checks in the mail.
They'd rather wallow in the life that they've made for themselves now. What was the question? That is undue stress on the mind, okay? What I do is I sit down at every meal and I say, this is it. This is the last time I'm gonna eat. Hang on, what was the question?
You may have heard of a little movie called Moonlight. No? Okay. Well, one and all.